I did not want to be a storyteller. Kung Jaadee hinu hat kif Kyang. My Haida name is Moon Woman. My cousin Crystal Robinson gave me this name at the memorial potlatch or feast, honoring my great uncle. He was hereditary chief of my clan. This happened in August 2008. And this indicates to everyone that my name is legal according to our traditional law. I just haven't changed it yet according to Western law, but maybe one day. Yale gusto di kwalagang. I'm from the Raven side. Yaklanas studiaskagang. I'm from the Yaklanas Raven clan. Hudsney studiaskagang. I'm from the Shark House. Diu auchadagang. I'm a Masset Haida. I remember that I thought I was a child, just like other kids. I thought we were all the same. I didn't know there was a difference between me as a human being and my neighbor as a human being. I just thought we were just a bunch of kids having kid experiences until I entered kindergarten. Those kids bullied me until I was in grade 7. And then the bullying became more subtle later on. Solana, sounding itlagadas. Aji tawesang, aji nang klanglang alket lagang. Hile, kog, gudang hlu, sahlang. Digil klaid, ugel klaid, lagel klaid. Ikkel klaid, dau it alets ang dangal kit lagang. Ho a kunisi. I did not want to become a storyteller. The stories chose me. And I'm grateful they have. Our stories and our language, everything has been oral. It's been passed on from generation to generation. People might feel that they haven't been surrounded by stories, but we really, truly have. Even with our songs that we sing and the dances that we dance, these all come from stories. They originate from a time, from our ancestors' time, when we didn't know anything about how to be human beings in this world. But the supernatural beings came to them. And for some of them, they represented animals. And so we adopted them as our crests. And those are all made up of stories. So we wear our stories on our clothing, whether they know it or not. We wear them every time we attend a feast.
It's raspberry or strawberry?
It's strawberry.
This maple syrup. So what do? You put it right beside, like here?
You put it on top.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's decadent.
It's
like
kind of like pancake. I remember many years ago, I discovered a lump on my neck, and I had to go and see my doctor when I lived in Victoria. And she referred me to a surgeon who seemed like he was okay, but he turned out not to be okay. My instinct told me that he was acting a little bit weird when I was sick that year, and it only confirmed it later when my doctor discovered a lump in my breast, and I had to go back to him and see him, and he sexually assaulted me in front of my child. Well, the hardest part was that my GP, my general practitioner, didn't believe me, and she sided with him. And I knew at that moment that I didn't have a case. I didn't have a case to stand on, and I didn't have anything. I knew that because I didn't have her support, there was no way that I could bring this to the police. There was nobody would believe me if I didn't have support from her. And she was someone that I saw for 8 years. But after that, I thought, but this might be just a one-off, kind of thing. Maybe this won't ever happen again. But eventually I moved to the Northwest Territories, and I almost died 14 years ago up there after an emergency femoral hernia surgery. I contracted a bacterial infection after that surgery, and I had to go into emergency. And I remember that doctor physically assaulted me in front of my husband. So that doctor was a white settler. My now ex-husband is a white settler, and he sided with the doctor and said, the doctor knows what he's doing, as I was screaming in pain. At that moment, I knew there wasn't anything I could do, and only the nurse expressed sympathy as she leaned in when both of the men were gone, and she quietly whispered, "I am so sorry he did that. He had no right." And I knew that she couldn't say anything against him because she was a nurse. I knew she would lose her job. I knew that she had children at home. I knew I couldn't go to her and force her to make a case against him. So I just let that be as well. I was out of isolation for 2 months. I went to see my general practitioner, and he was an older, much older man of European ancestry. And when I went to him, because I ended up getting C. difficile bacterial infection from the surgery, I also got pancreatitis because of lifelong anorexia. And I didn't know that was the reason. I was still in denial that I had anorexia until I sought the help of a naturopathic doctor that lived in the Northwest Territories. But when I went to my GP and I asked him, because my fat enzymes were way off the charts, what he could do to offer support to me, what guidance I needed in terms of my diet so that I can regain my health. And he basically told me, "It's all your fault. I'm not going to treat you. You're a drunk." And he stared at me in the face. And I looked at him and I stared right back and I said, "How is that even possible when I've never been drunk once in my life and I don't even drink alcohol?" And he stared right back at me, just waiting for me to turn beet red, waiting for me to become ashamed and say, "Oh yes, I drink all the time, but I don't." I was telling him the truth. So 3 times I went to him asking for help, and 3 times he said the very same thing. So after the 3rd time, I asked my husband at the time to come with me to my appointment. And when I told my husband I needed his support, he actually got upset with me and said, "You've got to get that chip off your shoulder and let this doctor help you." And I'm like, "But he's not helping me. He's not. But I need to go see him because there is nobody else that's accepting new patients in this town. And I have to go to him for lab work. I have to go to him to find out the results, to see if I'm making any progress, because my naturopathic doctor could not order any of those."
How are you feeling? How's your knee?
Oh, my knee is great now that I go to Luma Medical Clinic. it's really close to my house, and they're an Indigenous focused clinic. So I'm really enjoying that a lot. Well, Luma's really great because I've got a doctor who's Indigenous. I mean, she's Indigenous from South America. It's a little bit different from being Indigenous in Canada, but she still completely understands, our experience here, as Indigenous people. But it was a different story in the past, I'll tell you.